Just wanted to talk about a couple things. First thing is that there is a city, I believe it's Portland, Oregon, and the city has the leadership of the city, the government, has decided that it's discrimination to persecute people who are poor, who are shoplifting. So they've set a limit of the amount of money that someone can shoplift before the police or the prosecutors will punish them. I believe it's $900. So what people are doing is they're going into the Walmarts and they're stealing TVs, just filling up carts and walking to their cars. And there's security guards and employees that want them to stop and maybe get them to stop, but there's nothing that they can really do because the police don't come, because the police don't waste their time, because they know that they're not going to get prosecuted, because the current government of that city has decided that it's discriminating against these poor people. So these Walmarts have decided to close up shop, shut down, and not operate where this government is doing this practice. So there's a lot of people online that are saying, this is a liberal problem. This is what liberals are doing. And so I just kind of started thinking about this, and it's just kind of funny because conservatives fancy themselves Christians, and there's nothing that Christ taught in the Bible that is the conservative way. It's very opposite. The conservatives are so rule based and so like black and white with everything. They're more like the Jewish people during Christ's time, Jesus' time, who Jesus didn't like very much and who didn't like Jesus. Conservatives are not like Jesus at all. The liberals are like Jesus. And it's just, it's a sad thing to see how backwards all these things are, where you have like these governments that, like these groups of people that are like, we're Christians, it's the Christian way, but what they stand for is the opposite of Christianity. Is the opposite of what Jesus would be. Jesus would be for the outcasts, for the downtrodden, for the poor. That's who he's for. But the conservatives aren't for those people. The conservatives are for themselves. The conservatives are for, the government. And Christ is not for the government, you know. So it's just, a strange thing. And then another thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is there was someone on Facebook who's local to me, and what she posted, and this is out of hundreds, thousands of posts on this subject of divorce and child support. There was one person of all thousands of posts on Facebook, and this one person said that her and her ex have 50-50 custody. and it's and she's like, this state is not a mother state. The dad doesn't have to pay child support. So, and that's very rare to hear that. Uh, in fact, I don't think maybe one other time I've heard of a father not having to pay child support in this state that I live in. I have heard of it in the past. She's like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. The guys, you know, guys can get, custody, and you guys need to stop complaining about the family courts not being on the father's side. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna let this, fly. I at least put a little bit of, truth and information out there. So I just real quickly made a post. It's not a big deal for me to write it because, like I said, out of thousands of Facebook posts, the statistics are this. The statistics are of the people who are in homeless shelters, of the people who are drug addicts, of the people who are in prison, of the people who have teenage pregnancies, of the people who are single parents, of all those people, 90% of them come from single mother homes. So you can honestly say that if your child comes from a home where there is only a mother and there is no father, there is a very good chance that that child will grow up to end up homeless, a drug addict, in prison, okay? A teenage pregnancy, okay? Also a single mother, okay? These are statistics that are true. Also, what is true is that in the case, and it is less common, but in the case where there is a father who is the main caretaker, as in a single father who is taking care of, mom's not in the picture, single dad taking care of the kid or kids, the chances of that child ending up in those situations are much, much less. And that child has a much greater chance of being successful. Single fathers do a better job. That is a true statistic. Now, when I put that on there, these women, these mothers didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to believe it. But these are true things. These aren't feelings. These aren't opinions. These are statistics that come from lawyers and divorce courts and family courts. They're real statistics that you can look up, and they of course want to say, well, let me see the link from where you got it, and my answer is always, I'm not your mom or your college professor. You can do your own research. And it would really only take 5 minutes, but when 50 people want me to do that, 5 minutes turns into hours and hours of giving links to people. I'm not going to do that. So 90% of fathers, 99% of fathers in a custody battle for kids, they do not win. Doesn't matter if there is no evidence against the dad. It is just a societal, it is a social norm that the dads do not get to have their kids. It is just a bias against fathers. It is something that is ingrained in society. It has to do with feminism. It has to do with a battle against dads. It is ingrained in the media. It is ingrained in all women to blame someone else for the problem. And the blame goes on men. And men are not manipulators. We are not fighters, especially good men. We are not fighters with words. We are not going to argue and create a manipulative argument where we're going to win that argument. That is what women are trained to do from the very beginning, when they have little dollies and their Barbies, and they're having little relationships with their Barbies and having families, and that they're trained to create drama situations. Boys get cars and guns and G.I. Joes and tools and dirt and tools, and we do things and we have things. We don't learn how to create social situations. That is not our forte. So when it comes to arguing and fighting with words and creating arguments and winning decisions in front of a judge and convincing people, we lose, and that is the way it has been since the beginning of time. So we will lose that 99% of the time. But statistics show that we are better parents. It's unfortunate that society hasn't figured that out yet. Because what happens is, when we lose our kids, we feel terrible. And so many men just lose it. And it isn't till after we lose our kids that we look like losers. And women are so good at turning everyone against us, fathers, that they are able to convince everyone that we're deadbeats. And then when we react badly because we lost our children, it's so much easier to believe the moms that we actually are deadbeats, that we actually are losers. And unfortunately, some of us men start to believe it ourselves. I won't believe that, though. I know I'm a good dad. I'm a good man. And I'll never stop fighting, and I'll never let the manipulations and the lies, I'll never let those things win. Because I know what reality is. And I've done the work. I've done the work to know up from down. And no matter how much someone tries to convince me that I'm crazy or that I'm wrong, it's just not going to work. And that's a lesson that I have a responsibility to teach my children. And it would be a great, great tragedy if I didn't do that. And it's a lesson that manipulators and abusers can never teach anybody, because their only strength is abuse and manipulation. So, it's just something to think about.